Hi, everyone. My name's Erik VanDyck here at Walsh College. I am joined here today with Nick Ferguson over at Baker Tilly. Nick, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. You bet. So can you tell us and tell our audience a little bit about Baker Tilly as a whole?
Yeah, so we're a top 10 accounting firm, really heavy here in Michigan. The traditional services that you think of, but also a lot of consulting, a lot of business advisory stuff. So we really pride ourselves in that, of being a little different than other accounting firms. But do a lot of different things and work a lot closely with Walsh.
Awesome. And why are you guys here on campus today? What brings you in the door?
So we did on-campus recruiting.
Okay.
Trying to meet students and working with some of the career services folks to connect directly with students and things of that nature. We're recruiting for, it's a busy time of year for us, right? We're recruiting for next year though, but that was our goal today, was to, really recruit, meet students. That's how I came out. I'm a Walsh alum. That's how I came out here, right? Doing the same things that I used to do. So yeah, really just a chance to connect with students, tell them a little more about Baker Tilly, give them a chance to really learn more about us. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, right?
Sure.
For careers and paths, right? So doing a lot of things of that nature.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you being here. You mentioned you're a Walsh alum and also a current student.
I am
in our master's program, so that's awesome. As a Walsh student and alum, can you talk a little bit about your experience as a student here and kind of what that's meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, we were just, all of a sudden you look back and you're like, okay, it's been 7-8 years since I graduated. You look back at the things that made a difference, right? Walsh is a big thing for me. We've met before.
Yeah.
We see each other at stuff, and I'm like, I bring it up all the time. There are opportunities here that carried me the past 8 years of being in the profession that I look back on, and it's like, wow, that was a change. That was a turning point, right? There were experiences here, opportunities that were provided that I really lean back on. And I look at that as carrying me through that profession, right? The past 8 years. Yeah. Even now as a current, I take a lot of pride in the undergrad. That was the big achievement to get into it, kind of what you need to do first, the graduate degrees, on the side. I'm not as intense into it. Don't tell any of our professors that, right? But, I look back on that fondly and look at the things that, the people I got to meet, the events that Walsh sponsored. And, when I was a student, and I think it still is this case, it was, hey, we have this opportunity. You weren't competing necessarily to go to it, right? It wasn't an exclusive thing. It was, we want you to succeed.
Right.
We want to connect you. Here's your chance. Do you want to take it?
Right.
So I look back on that really fondly of, hey, it was a great kickstart to the career. And great things came from it.
That's great. That's what we love to hear.
Yeah.
What would you suggest, so just to kind of change gears here, what would you suggest to a student, who's either fresh out of school or trying to get into the profession of maybe something or some things they could focus on early on in their career that helped you or that?
Yeah, I would say, looking back now, we've, everything's changed, right, in some way. But then at some point you kind of step back and you say some things never change, right?
Sure.
So, as a student now, there's all these different, when I was a student, there wasn't a podcast facility, studio.
Right.
Not
this
a
was
facility.
The bookstore, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a bookstore, right? And so, all these things are changing, right? But at the same time, there's some things that never change. Like I said, when I was an undergrad student, you took the opportunities to network and meet people, right? Relationships carry. I got connected at Baker Tilly through a relationship from recruiting years ago, and it got rekindled. I think there's things that, everybody's looking to do something different and try something new and do all these things, which is great. But when you go back to it, there's things that never change, right?
Yeah.
There's things that, if you're a student, putting in the time to meet people in the profession, right? Putting in the time to go to things and kind of get that connectivity, that's always going to be there, because our whole, our industry, our business professional industry, all these things, they're carried by those relationships. So, when you step back and look at it, I graduated at a time we were here 6 to 10, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on the class, right?
Sure.
I think at my time at Walsh, I had one class that wasn't from 6 to 10. Well, that's a little different now, right?
Yeah.
But what's not different is, your connection with the professor might get you a job, right? If you can connect with the student, another student, you'll run into them down the road. You guys here, the folks, managing the career services, those are all people that, if you spend the time and get to know them, I think those things carry you.
Right.
And I think that's something that, I don't want to say is lost now, but everybody wants to be a podcast host. And I have high hopes for you, Erik, but I know I'm not going to be a podcaster, right?
Right.
I'll join a few when you guys want me to, but
sure.
But you step back and there's these things though. But doing this stuff, right? I mean, coming on and talking to you and those things build relationships. And I would say any student, from two perspectives: one, to build the relationships and hopefully find an opportunity, but also to find what you're not interested in.
Right.
You look back at that and you'll meet somebody that you're like, oh, I don't ever want to work for that person. Not in a bad way, not, sometimes in a bad way, but because you don't click with them, but sometimes in a way that, no, I'm just not going to be good in that setting. So why would I put myself through that versus doing it blindly and then having to live through it, right?
Yeah.
So those are all chances for students to really gauge their abilities early on without being at a job per se, engage their opportunities, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I would say is the biggest thing I would encourage, because looking back, that set up a lot of paths, right? And a lot
Sure.
of things to think about and kind of hone in on what I was really interested in.
Sounds a lot like building your network, right?
Yeah,
Trying to make
absolutely.
Sure you get those folks in order and utilizing the resources that are available to you.
And especially, right, at such a early time in a career, to build that and understand what's out there, right? Yeah, it's great later on too. There's other reasons to do it, things like that. But early on, to really understand everything. I don't think, when my first day at Walsh, I didn't have a clue. And I say that in a way to, I didn't have a clue what was out there fully. I kind of maybe a little bit. I had a direction, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have a clue of all the opportunities out there. So, you're not going to be able to Google, this exact, what your exact path is.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what I would give to students.
Awesome, man. So students, if you're out there, make sure you attend career fairs.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Nick
Come
went to,
see it. I mean, I will, trust me.
Those are super helpful.
I will talk your ear off. So you'll find out really quick if you want to be around somebody that talks your ear off or doesn't talk to you at all. You'll get a good flavor from one of them.
That's funny. That's funny. What are some important qualities that you guys look for at Baker Tilly in new student interns or entry-level folks that you guys bring on?
Yeah, I think a couple things, right? The biggest thing I found is looking for people that are engaged. You can't coach that, you can't teach that. So people that are engaged, what does that mean? That means following up on, the opportunity itself, trying to connect, trying to make sure that you're flexible to, with an employer to make sure that you're, connecting with them and working, to put that best foot forward. I think when people are engaged in something, no different than, this. Am I engaged here? You can tell, right?
Yeah.
You can tell if somebody's engaged. So that's the biggest thing I look for first. Then comes some other things like, do their goals align with what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
We're a accounting firm. It's really built on learning. It's kind of an apprenticeship in some ways. Do those, is this somebody that will want to learn? Is this somebody that wants to grow? Obviously, a lot of Walsh students are already doing that. So we
Sure.
know that's the not really a concern. If you're here learning, we kind of know that. But I'd say those are the two big things that we really look for as a whole of saying, hey, is this person going to, succeed here, right? Because that's what we're looking for, is people who can really succeed. And those are the big things now, especially. And it got a little hard during COVID to monitor that, right?
Yeah,
but now it's like, okay, you've found ways to kind of scope that out and see where people are at. So
Sure. Well, that's great. That's great. Last one here. Thank you again for being here.
Of course,
we appreciate it. What do you like the most about working in the accounting industry? What would be your favorite thing?
Oh, I mean, accounting journal entries, right? I mean, gosh, tax returns. I mean, financial. I mean, it just blows my mind that people don't love this stuff, right? I would say for me, I don't want to keep saying the same thing, so I'll kind of dig into it a little different way. But like relationships, right? I look at when I started. Everybody thinks you're coming in, and like I said, doing those things, tax returns, financial statements. There's a few people out there that really, truly, truly love that work, right? And more power to them. But I think a lot of people, in the space, and this is again a thing I didn't realize coming in from day one, was it's a very social opportunity in some ways to connect with people, especially as your career progresses. But even from day one, we have a group of interns right now that are all connecting and getting to know each other. And they don't have to be best friends, but they'll carry those relationships for a long time because they're going through something together that, is challenging, right? It's a new job. It's a new experience.
Might be a little scared or intimidated about it, right? Yeah.
100%. And I think that's where, yes, there's the scary part of it, right? But there's also the huge reward that sometimes people forget about of having somebody that, you'll be able to go back 10 years later and say, oh yeah, like it's been a few years maybe, but we both did that together. And remember that one time Nick drove us nuts, on that one project. And, you laugh, but you can probably think of it too, right?
Sure.
You can remember that, that bonding experience, right? So looking, stepping back now a little bit and really thinking about it, that's the part that's kept me in it. It's not the tax returns. It's not reading the code sections. It's the people, right? It's the chance to connect. It's the chance to be with people that, want to help a client, want to help a staff person or an intern grow and learn. That's what draws me to it, because the work is what the work is, and we do all kinds of different things every day. The work's never the same.
Sure.
It's really connecting with people, wherever that form may be. That keeps, I think, a lot of people into it. And I think a lot of people, especially students that are listening, don't realize, they think it's I'm in a cube by myself, not talking to anybody, right? And I'd say even when I started, it wasn't like that. But in the time that I've done this, it's changed even more so, where it's so far away from that now. It's kind of wild to see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's become a true, relationship-based kind of field almost of, you have to work with people, right? You have to learn people's, ticks. You have to learn these things. But again, on the flip side of that is there's this huge opportunity for, lasting connections.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
There's still some tax. There's still some. There's still some. I mean, no matter how hard I try, they still make me do some tax returns. So
that's funny. Well, it sounds like a great place to work.
Absolutely.
And, we certainly appreciate the partnership. Baker Tilly has been involved with Walsh for many, many years, and hopefully many more years to come here. So
no, absolutely. And come, students that are listening to, come see us at the career fairs, come connect with us. We have a great team. So
awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you.